This is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is around 6:31 on this Thursday morning. A lot of people are heading back to school, and it's a foggy start to the day. Let's check in with meteorologist Kelly McShane for a look at that forecast this morning. Kelly?
Connor, you're right. A lot of fog this morning. Some of it very thick at times. Some folks seeing less than 1 mile. Some folks seeing 0 miles of visibility out there. You can see that here on the visibility map. Now, over the last hour or so, that fog has gotten thicker, especially through Hazard as well as Jackson into Breathitt County. So just be mindful of that. Very, very thick at times. Be very careful on the roadways. I want to remind you to just use those low beams out there on the roads. You're going to want to give yourself some extra time this morning to get out on the roadways as well. Temperatures around the region, we're starting off into the 60s for most of us. So overall, not too bad in the temperature department, just like I said, dealing with that fog this morning. But as far as satellite and radar goes, we are pretty clear above all of that fog. So once that fog gets on out of here, we're going to see plenty of sunshine and really not too many rain chances to talk about today. But I will tell you when we have our next big rain chance here in my full forecast in just a little bit. Connor?
All right, thank you, Kelly. Well, today, Vice President Mike Pence is stopping in Clay County to talk about the opioid crisis and the Innovative Readiness Program. WYMT's Madison Pergram was in Manchester yesterday and has a preview of that.
On a typical day, the streets in Manchester, for the most part, are pretty quiet. But on Thursday, that might not be the case.
It's very exciting for Clay County to have the Vice President to come in. I mean, that's something that's never happened in history, and we're looking forward to having him.
Johnny Johnson, Clay County Judge Executive, says the vice presidential visit is something they're getting ready for.
So right now we're setting up, our Sheriff's Department and our City Police is setting up barriers and stuff and getting parking for everybody and make sure that we have an ambulance here and we have a helicopter here.
Preparing for what he hopes to be a big turnout.
Hopefully we have a big crowd, and really looking forward to what he's got to say about helping Eastern Kentucky.
Now, downtown Manchester, Pat's Snack Bar is not normally a place you hear people talking about politics. Usually it's all about flipping burgers and serving French fries. But today is a little different.
I was shocked.
Brenda Smith, a regular at Pat's Snack Bar, says she wasn't expecting to hear someone like the vice president visiting in the area.
We don't usually get someone like that here.
But some say it's just about time.
I think it's a very big deal. Leslie County's had presidents, Prairie County, Law County, and now Clay County.
Richard Couch, a resident of Clay County for over 30 years, says it's a good opportunity for politicians in Washington to talk to the people.
It'll be just one of the greatest things that ever happened to Clay County, that the people in Washington care enough to come and talk to us in person.
Amy Holland, an employee for Pat's Snack Bar, says it will still be a business as usual type of day, even if he happened to walk into the restaurant to grab a bite to eat.
I say, how you doing, sir? Welcome to Manchester.
Continuing to do what she does every day.
I wouldn't be nervous or nothing. I'd cook him a burger.
All reactions surrounding what's setting up to be a historic day in the area. In Clay County, Madison Pergram, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, the event is expected to start around 12:45 at EKU's Manchester Satellite Campus. We will carry that live on WYMT, WYMT.com. And Senator Mitch McConnell's campaign is in Twitter jail. That means the account is not allowed to tweet. Senator McConnell's campaign manager says the account was locked because they posted a video of a rally outside of McConnell's Louisville home. They say threats were made against the senator. McConnell's campaign says they've appealed to Twitter, but the social media platform told them the account will remain locked until the campaign deletes the video. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Mississippi say they've completed the largest single-state immigration enforcement in U.S. history after rounding up nearly 700 undocumented migrants at several work sites across the state. Officials in Mississippi say their operation, which took 11 months of planning and more than 600 special agents, was not directed by the president.
The arrests today were the result of a year-long criminal investigation, and the arrests and warrants that were executed today are just another step in that investigation.
Officials say the migrants are being processed. Some will go to an ICE facility in Louisiana, while others may be given an alternative to detention for humanitarian reasons. President Trump discussed gun control measures as he left for visits to El Paso and Dayton, Ohio, the two cities that experienced mass shootings over the weekend. CBS's Katherine Johnson has more from the White House.
President Trump says he's ready to move on new gun control measures.
I'm looking to do background checks. I think background checks are important.
The president says the mass shootings in El Paso, Texas and Dayton, Ohio have changed the political calculus around gun control.
There's a great appetite, and I mean a very strong appetite, for background checks, and I think we can bring up background checks like we've never had before.
The president spent time with victims of the shootings in both Ohio and Texas and heard pleas from local leaders for Washington to act.
I'm not holding my breath. Too often we just see complete inaction because they're waiting just for time for people to forget that 9 people died in Dayton.
Democrats have renewed their calls for even tougher laws.
We must act to get the weapons of war off our streets, out of our grocery stores, our bars, our temples, and our churches, and our schools by banning assault weapons once and for all.
Congressman Mike Turner's daughter was in the bar across the street at the time of the Dayton shooting. The Republican has an A rating from the NRA, but now says he supports an assault weapons ban.
This is an unbelievable amount of evil that we cannot comprehend.
In a statement, Turner said the carnage these military-style weapons are able to produce when available to the wrong people is intolerable. But there likely isn't enough Republican support in Congress to pass an assault weapons ban. Katherine Johnson, CBS News, the White House.
A poll taken last year showed 92% of Americans surveyed support background checks for all gun sales. And the epidemic of mass shootings has Americans on edge after mistaking the sounds of a motorcycle backfiring for gunshots in Times Square last night. Hundreds of people panicked and started running for their lives, ducking into stores for cover. Dr. Jeffrey Lieberman, chair of psychiatry at Columbia University, says the cumulative effects of mass shootings produces high levels of anxiety and fear across the country.
Any type of natural disaster, and in this case, a mass violent attack, has reverberations. Some people are more resilient, they brush it off. Other people are freaked for days, months, or even longer.
NYPD said the public responded just the way they should have by running and hiding. They also said they have increased police presence since 2 mass shootings this weekend. Now, residents of West Tennessee are advised to be on guard. Authorities are searching for an escaped inmate after a prison employee was found dead. 44-year-old Curtis Ray Watson escaped the West Tennessee State Penitentiary Wednesday. His absence discovered after longtime employee Deborah Johnson was found dead. After Johnson's body was found Wednesday morning, lockdown went into effect. That's when officials noticed Watson was gone.
If you spot Curtis Watson, do not approach him. Call 911. He is to be considered dangerous.
Watson was working on farm detail, and authorities believe he used a tractor to escape. The vehicle was found roughly 1 mile away from the prison. And at least 4 people were killed and several more injured Wednesday afternoon in a series of stabbings in Orange County, California. Police in Garden Grove say the incident began when a 33-year-old man tried to rob a bakery, before attacking other various businesses and an apartment complex. Authorities eventually arrested the man in Santa Ana. Police say these were all random acts, and the suspect did not know any of the people he stabbed. And over in Arkansas, a federal judge is temporarily blocking a new abortion law from going into effect. The judge made the ruling Tuesday on grounds the law would cause, quote, irreparable harm to women seeking abortions. The decision blocks a new law barring abortions if the woman's decision was based on a diagnosis that the fetus has Down syndrome. The ruling also puts a hold on another law requiring providers to be certified in gynecology. A report from the Pentagon. And in other news, a report from the Pentagon says ISIS is resurging in Syria. The report covers the fight against ISIS from April through the end of June. A few months ago, President Trump declared the terror group had been 100% defeated, but the report says it was still able to strengthen its insurgent capabilities in Iraq. It was in the process of doing the same in Syria. The report warned about the fallout from having some U.S. troops leave Syria recently, saying their absence has already impacted the fight against the remnants of ISIS.
Fog is the #1 issue out there on the roadways this morning. Very thick at times. It's continuing to settle into those valley regions. So like I keep saying, be sure to use those low beams. Give yourself plenty of extra time this morning and extra space in between those cars. Here you can see especially those darker grays. That's where the fog is a little bit thicker. So be very careful out on the roads this morning. Just want to continue to remind you to just use very much caution. Now those temperatures around the region, we're in those mid-60s still. Those temperatures not really going to budge much until we get all of that fog on out of here. Now for today, we're looking at those temperatures into the mid-80s by the time we get to the afternoon, with plenty of sunshine, a few clouds here and there, maybe a stray shower or two, but I think most of us, we're going to stay dry. I'll have that full forecast here in just a little bit, Connor.
Well, we'll have stories trending on WYMT.com next. Thanks for joining us on Mountain News this morning. Straight ahead, yesterday, the USA Today offices in Virginia were evacuated due to concerns about a man with a weapon. Plus, a 2-year-old girl was bitten on the arm by a bear at the Greater Vancouver Zoo on Monday.
The bus stop